Hey YouTube, Mark Kaufman here, and today I want to show you a Wenger Esquire. Now this came with a very small key ring. I have changed that up with a little small chain here from a set of keys that I had, and I am probably going to throw this on my keys, and I think it will do very well there. So the reason why I want to show you this knife is, first off, I have, I believe, like 3 of these coming. I found quite a few of them on eBay in almost brand new condition. I mean, this one was in very good condition, practically brand new. And I have to say, I really do like this 65mm size from Wenger. So much so that I bought a Victorinox Executive 81. Now, that's essentially the Victorinox version of this, and it's just coming out of the Delmont factory, and I wanted to compare this against that one, and I think that'll be a very interesting video. But what's even more interesting with this one is that it came with its original pouch, which is kind of a felt, I guess, plastic pouch, not very durable. I'm probably going to just throw this away, but it came with its original pouch. So there's the pouch, and it came with its original paperwork, which is very interesting. Now this, one of the things that's very, very good about getting original paperwork with, let me get my grubby hands out of the way so you can pause this and read it. One of the great things about getting paperwork with a knife is you can find a print date on these. And this was printed in 1995. So having this allows you to find out how old your knife is. So for a long time, I was actually guessing that these printed emblems were from the 80s, which I was correct, because I found an Esquire that was in a clamshell pack, and on the back of the picture it had 89 printed on the back of it for its print date. So that was very interesting. So this must have been a Shield choice that carried over from the late 80s into the 90s and then moved over to, let me see if I have one here, moved over to, as I fiddle with all of my Swiss Army knives, over here. And I don't have one. So well, you know what? Let me just see here. Okay. Well, I don't have one. So that's a little unfortunate for this, but so Wenger went from a printed white shield to a aluminum, or at least earlier. No, I need to get this straight. So from the 90s, they had the 80s and the 90s, late 80s and 90s, they had the printed white emblem, okay? Then in the early 2000s, until they were bought by Victorinox, they used the injected molded emblem that had 2 shades of red and then the white cross. And then behind this one, and the one that I can't find right now, is the emblem that was on an aluminum sheet. So I have a few of those, and I just don't have them with me right now. But I will be doing a Shield comparison video of Wenger knives. And I know that they do have older shields, but finding those shields from the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and those knives especially, they get very expensive. So I will be probably just comparing the 80s, 90s, and then 2000s. So really quick about the shields. Thank you for bearing with me on that. But this here is almost a complete set. Now, you don't have to pay a lot of money to get something like this. I paid, I think, $8 for this knife, and it came with all this. I am trying to work out a deal on eBay for another one of these for $9, but it has the box. So that would be something I would just keep in the collection. But this one here, I think I'm just going to carry this one. It's pretty nice. and it is very clean. Now, really quick, let's compare it, and let me fold this correctly. Here we go. So we got the paperwork, and then we got the sleeve. Let's see if the paperwork will fit in the sleeve. If it does, then that's where it will stay. And so actually finding these knives, it's not very hard. You just have to look on eBay. Okay, fits. That's where it'll stay. So finding these, it's not very hard. You just have to look around on eBay. You can buy these pre-owned for like $6, but they're usually in rough shape. So really quick, let's compare this to its competitor, and at that time it was the 58mm Victorinox. Now, one of the reasons why I like the Rally is because the blade is actually going away from the key ring, but on the Classic SD, the blade is actually on this end right behind the key ring, which kind of is annoying. So that's one of the reasons why you should probably pick up a Rally. But when it comes to size, the Wenger is a very, very good size. You've just got a little bit more length, and I'm talking maybe 3 or 4 millimeters more in length, but it's a little bit bigger than your 58mm. But when you compare it to the Victorinox Executive and compare the blades there, you actually get quite a bit more blade with the Executive. So this is 74, 65, and 58. Personally, I like carrying the 74 a little more, but this 65mm size is really, I mean, so far I've done more with this little blade than I actually expected. So it's a very handy little knife to have in the collection and in your EDC. So as I try to clean up everything back here, this knife is very, very interesting. I find it interesting that Wenger felt no need to go lower than this. They went with 65. They didn't go with 58. Now, the nail file is a little bit bigger than the Classic SDs, and that's primarily because you've got a bigger knife here, but they actually just used the same stamps of their knife blade to do the nail file, and you can see that shape there. They just pressed it out in a different shape and added a few differences there as I try to close this without cutting myself. So this nail file is very good. Doesn't have a flat head, but you can use this as like a Phillips head screwdriver, no problem there. Now, I will say the scissors are something unique. I think it just needs oil, but they're kind of gummy. But they use the patented system from Wenger. Now, this system, I find it interesting, but I don't find it like a selling point for me. Victorinox has great scissors, and Wenger has great scissors. You've got people that like one or the other, but I don't really care. I think they're both fine. But I will say what's interesting is you can see how thick the scales are compared to the frame of the knife. And you can see there that like you've got like a good millimeter of distance away from the scales. So like, let's say if you lost the scales, your blades would be poking out from the frame. And so that's kind of a bummer because you can't really get these scales anymore. And I believe Victorinox has actually changed the chassis that this is built on. So you cannot put these old scales or the newer Victorinox scales on your older Wenger. So that might be an interesting video to try out in the future, but I just really wanted to talk about the Esquire and show you some of the highlights of this find, which were these two things, and then how it compared to the competition that it had at hand in the 90s and early 2000s. Now, for me personally, I don't think this is going to be like the end-all be-all keychain knives for me, but I will say having a little bit of a bigger handle, having this little chain here to get my keys away from the knife really allows you to get a full grip on this thing. And if you really needed to do some work, you could probably do it by by cutting with the blade. I will say you don't want to do anything too strenuous because the blade will bend, but I don't think you'll have any problems cutting up an apple, cutting a banana, cutting some fruit, cutting some rope, maybe even some zip ties. And what was very interesting is Wenger actually made a serrated model of this as well. So you also had a very small knife with serrations, and I mean, if anything, Wenger was always a company that did something a little bit more different than Victorinox when it came to their knives, and I appreciate that. They really set themselves apart from the competition. However, they also made a lot of knives that were very specific to a specific market. I mean, heck, they had a knife that was made for adjusting skis, a ski tightness on the bolt. I mean, they had even a key that would come out of the knife handle, and it was made for tightening your soccer cleats. They had some crazy designs and innovations, but they have to be commended for that. It's very interesting. So enough of me waffling on and babbling. I thought you guys would enjoy this, and if you did, let me know in the comments, and I'm going to have a few more of these coming in the mail and for you guys to see, but I think I'm just going to throw this one into the pocket and use it. No point in keeping it safe like this. It's dime a dozen. So till the next one, I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.